My daughter-in-law slapped my daughter across the face at Thanksgiving dinner. Her own husband, my daughter's husband, just sat there and watched. When I stood up to help her, his mother laughed and said, "Finally, someone's teaching her some manners." I didn't say a word. I simply walked to the kitchen, pulled out my phone, and made a call. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening from in the comments. I'm 68 years old. I live in a modest ranch house in Gilbert, Arizona, the kind of place people drive past without a second glance. Beige stucco, desert landscaping, a 10-year-old pickup truck in the driveway. My neighbors know me as Harold, the quiet widower who waters his cacti every morning and waves at the mail carrier. My daughter Emma called me 3 days before Thanksgiving. Her voice had that brittle quality I'd learned to recognize over the past 2 years, cheerful on the surface, cracking underneath. "Dad, we'd love to have you for Thanksgiving this year. Derek's mother is hosting at her place in Scottsdale." I paused, setting down the book I'd been reading. "Patricia's house?" she insisted. "Said it would be nice to have the whole family together." The whole family. I'd met Patricia Holloway exactly twice. Once at the wedding 4 years ago, where she'd looked at my off-the-rack suit and asked Emma if I needed help paying for the rehearsal dinner. The second time was at my granddaughter Lily's first birthday, where Patricia had spent most of the party explaining to other guests that Derek had married down but was making the best of it. "I'd be happy to come," I said. "How's Lily?" Emma's pause was a heartbeat too long. "She's good. Growing so fast. She's 3 now. Can you believe it? I remember. I sent the bicycle for her birthday." "Right. Yes. She loves it." Another pause. "Dad, I should go. Derek needs the car." "Emma, is everything's fine. See you Thursday." She hung up before I could finish the question. I sat in my living room, watching the Arizona sunset paint the mountains orange, and thought about what I'd heard in my daughter's voice. Fear. The same fear I'd spent 32 years learning to recognize in witnesses, informants, and victims. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I drove to Scottsdale that Thursday morning, taking the Motrumlair Moat through the sprawl of strip malls and gated communities. Patricia's house sat in a development called Desert Oasis Estates, the kind of place with a guardhouse and a gate that opened slowly, as if reminding you that important people lived here. The house was enormous, Mediterranean style, red tile roof, 3-car garage. A fountain in the circular driveway featured a bronze horse rearing up toward the sky. I parked my truck between a Mercedes and a BMW, feeling like a weed in a rose garden. Patricia answered the door wearing silk and pearls, her smile precise as a surgical incision. "Harold, how nice. You found the place. GPS helps." She glanced at my truck, then at my sport coat, the nicest one I owned. "Well, come in. Everyone's in the living room." The living room could have held my entire house. Vaulted ceilings, marble floors, a fireplace big enough to stand in. A professional photographer's portrait of Patricia hung above the mantel, her face airbrushed into agelessness. Emma sat on a white leather sofa, Lily on her lap. My daughter looked thin, thinner than I'd seen her in years. Dark circles under her eyes, foundation that couldn't quite hide them. When she saw me, something flickered across her face. Relief, maybe. Or warning. "Dad." She stood, shifting Lily to her hip. "You made it." I hugged her carefully, felt how fragile she'd become. Wouldn't miss it. "Grandpa!" Lily reached for me, and I took her, this perfect 3-year-old with her mother's eyes and her grandmother's stubbornness. "Grandpa, I can count to 20 now." "Can you? Show me." She started counting, and for a moment, everything felt normal. Then Derek walked in. My son-in-law had changed since the wedding. Heavier, softer, with the look of a man who'd stopped trying. He nodded at me without warmth. "Harold, Derek, good to see you." He walked past me to the bar cart, poured himself a whiskey. It was 11 in the morning. Patricia's husband, Richard, appeared from somewhere deeper in the house. He was a surgeon, semi-retired, with the distracted air of someone whose mind was always elsewhere. "Harold, good to meet you properly. Drink?" "Water's fine, thank you." "Water." Patricia's laugh was light as glass. How refreshing. Most men your age are pickled in bourbon by now. "Mom, Derek's voice carried a warning, but it was half-hearted at best. Dinner was scheduled for 4. The hours between felt like wading through wet concrete. Patricia dominated every conversation, steering topics toward money, status, the vacation home in Cabo, the country club membership, Derek's promotion at her husband's medical equipment company, a company, I gathered, that Richard owned and Patricia ran with an iron fist. Emma spoke rarely. When she did, Patricia would smile that surgical smile and say things like, "That's interesting, dear. Derek, didn't you mention Emma's been having trouble with the house?" "The cleaning, wasn't it? The house is fine," Emma said quietly. "Of course it is. I'm sure you're doing your best." I watched. I listened. I noted the way Derek never defended his wife, the way Emma flinched when Patricia's voice rose, the way Lily clung to her mother as if afraid to let go. At 3:30 I excused myself to use the bathroom. Walking through the hallway, I passed what looked like a home office. The door was open. Inside, on a mahogany desk, sat a stack of papers. The top sheet caught my eye. Holloway Family Trust. Amendment. I kept walking. The dining room table seated 14. We were 6. Patricia and Richard at the heads, Derek and Emma on one side, me on the other, Lily in a high chair between her parents. The table was set with china that probably cost more than my truck, crystal glasses that caught the light, silver that gleamed like weapons. The turkey was carved professionally, the side dishes arranged like a magazine spread. Patricia said grace, a performance more than a prayer, thanking God for blessing this family with success and the wisdom to know our worth. For the first hour, conversation stayed on safe ground. Richard's golf game. A charity gala Patricia was chairing. Derek's thoughts on the Arizona Cardinals, delivered with the confidence of a man who'd never been contradicted. Then Patricia turned to Emma. "So, dear, Derek mentioned you've been spending a lot of time at that little craft store, the scrapbooking place." Emma's fork paused halfway to her mouth. "It's a job, Patricia, part-time." "A job?" Patricia's eyebrows rose. "When you have a home to manage and a child to raise? And Derek working so hard to provide?" I wanted to contribute. Contribute. Patricia set down her wine glass with exaggerated care. "Emma, sweetheart, let me be direct. The wives in this family don't work retail jobs. It reflects poorly. On Derek. On us. On this family." Emma's voice was barely audible. "I just wanted—" "What you want isn't the issue. Derek, tell her." Derek took a long drink of wine, his 4th glass. "Mom's right, Em. We talked about this. You need to quit, but I like it. It's only 15 hours a week. Lily's in preschool anyway, and—" "Did you hear what I said?" Derek's voice rose. Emma went silent. Across the table, Lily's eyes were wide, watching her parents with the terrible awareness children develop in unhappy homes. "Emma," Patricia's voice dripped with false sweetness, "I've tried to be patient, but this stubbornness, this constant need to argue, it's exhausting. Derek deserves a wife who supports him, not one who makes him look foolish." "I don't make him look." "You absolutely do. Working at a craft store? Like some teenager? My friends ask about Derek's wife, and I have to tell them you're arranging scrapbook paper for minimum wage." "It's not minimum wage. I don't care what it is." Patricia's mask slipped, revealing something cold beneath. "You will quit that job by Monday, or there will be consequences." "What consequences?" The question came out before Emma could stop it. I saw her realize her mistake immediately, saw the fear flash across her face. Patricia smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Derek, honey, your wife seems to have forgotten her place. Perhaps you should remind her." What happened next took 3 seconds, but felt like an hour. Derek stood, walked around the table to Emma, and stood over her with his hand raised. Emma shrank back, her body curling protectively, a motion so practiced it made my stomach turn. "Derek." My voice cut through the tension. I hadn't planned to speak, but the word came out hard as stone. He turned to me, hand still raised. "Stay out of this, Harold. This is between me and my wife. Lower your hand." "Or what? You'll shuffle over here and give me a stern talking to?" He laughed, looking at his mother for approval. "Mom, can you believe this guy? sitting there in his Walmart jacket, acting like he has something to say. Patricia's laugh was lighter, crueler. Harold, dear, I know you mean well, but family discipline isn't your concern. Emma needs guidance, and Derek provides it. That's how marriage works in our family. Guidance. I repeated the word flatly. Some women need a firm hand. Patricia sipped her wine. Emma's lucky Derek is patient with her. Derek's hand was still raised. Emma hadn't moved, frozen in that protective curl. I stood slowly, and in that motion, I made a decision. Not about what I would do, but about how I would do it. Sit down, Harold. Patricia's voice was sharp. You're making a scene. I walked toward the kitchen, my footsteps steady on the marble floor. Where are you going? Derek demanded. To get some air. Let him go. Patricia's voice followed me. This is a family matter anyway. He's barely family as it is. I reached the kitchen, a vast space of granite and stainless steel, and pulled out my phone. The contact I needed was filed under an old nickname, one I hadn't used in 5 years. Harold Curtis. The voice on the other end was surprised, but warm. It's been too long. Marcus. I need a favor. Name it. I'm witnessing what I believe is ongoing domestic abuse. Scottsdale. I need a detective I can trust. Someone who won't get confused by money and addresses. There was a pause. You still have your instincts, don't you? They never left. I'll make some calls. Give me the address. I did, then added, Marcus, this is my daughter. Another pause. Longer. I'll handle it personally. Old friend privileges. Thank you. I hung up and stood in that expensive kitchen, looking out at the pool and the golf course beyond. Through the doorway, I could hear Patricia still lecturing Emma about gratitude and proper behavior. Derek was agreeing with everything his mother said. My phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Detective Sarah Chen, Scottsdale PD. She's good. I briefed her. Call if needed. I saved the contact and walked back to the dining room. The scene had escalated while I was gone. Emma was standing now, backed against the wall, while Patricia stood inches from her face. You ungrateful little opportunist. Patricia's voice was venomous. You married into this family for our money, and you can't even manage basic compliance. I married Derek because I loved him. Loved him. Patricia laughed. You loved our house, our cars, our lifestyle, and now you want to embarrass us by working at some pathetic craft store. Mom, she gets it. Derek was refilling his wine glass, watching the confrontation with bored amusement. Let it go. No, I'm tired of letting things go. Patricia grabbed Emma's arm, her manicured nails digging in. You will quit that job. You will stop embarrassing this family. And you will learn to be grateful for everything we've given you. You're hurting me. Good? Maybe pain will teach you what words can't. Patricia raised her hand, and I saw what was coming before it happened. Her palm connected with Emma's face, the crack echoing off the marble and crystal. Emma stumbled back, hand pressed to her cheek. Lily started crying. Derek just watched, and Patricia laughed. Actually laughed. Finally. Someone's teaching her some manners. The room went very still. I pulled out my phone again, walked to the corner of the room, and dialed. Detective Chen. This is Harold Curtis. I'm at Bongin Tamcham Bonmui Bay, Desert Oasis Boulevard, witnessing a domestic assault. Adult female victim, adult female perpetrator. Physical violence just occurred. Victim has visible injury. Perpetrator is still present. Units are en route. Mr. Curtis. ETA 4 minutes. Can you stay on the line? Yes. Is the situation escalating? I looked at Patricia, who had gone very pale. Derek was staring at me. Richard had set down his fork. The perpetrator appears to have realized her mistake. Who? Patricia's voice cracked. Who are you calling? Scottsdale Police Department. You can't be serious. Derek stepped toward me. This is a family matter. Assault is a criminal matter. It was a slap. She deserved. Arizona Revised Statutes Muibamukngin Haichamleba. Assault in the 3rd degree. Class 1 misdemeanor. Your mother just committed it in front of witnesses. Derek's face shifted, confusion replacing anger. How do you know? The doorbell rang. Patricia's hand went to her throat, her pearls suddenly looking less like jewelry and more like a noose. Don't answer that. Richard stood, looking uncertain for the first time. Patricia, what's going on? The doorbell rang again, followed by a firm knock. I walked to the door and opened it. 2 officers stood on the marble steps, and behind them, a woman in a blazer with a detective's badge on her belt. Mr. Curtis? The detective extended her hand. I'm Sarah Chen. We spoke on the phone. Thank you for coming so quickly. When Marcus Reed calls personally, we respond. She looked past me into the house. May we come in? Of course. The next 20 minutes were methodical. Detective Chen separated everyone, taking statements in different rooms. I showed her the recording I'd made on my phone, 13 minutes of footage starting from when Patricia first confronted Emma about the job. Arizona is a one-party consent state, I explained. I was a participant in the conversation. Chen nodded, her expression professionally neutral. Mr. Curtis, you seem very familiar with legal procedure. I should be. I spent 32 years as a special agent with the FBI, retired as assistant director in charge of the Los Angeles field office. Chen's eyebrows rose slightly. That's not in my briefing notes. I don't advertise it. May I ask why? I thought about the question. Because when I retired, I wanted to be Emma's father. Not Harold Curtis, who put people in federal prison. I wanted her to know me for who I am, not what I did. From the living room, I could hear Patricia's voice rising. This is absurd. I'm a pillar of this community. Do you know who I know? I'll have your badge. Ma'am. The officer's voice was calm. You have the right to remain silent. I strongly suggest you exercise it. Emma found me in the kitchen afterward. Lily clutched to her chest. Her cheek was red, would probably bruise. But something in her eyes had changed. Dad. You called the FBI? Not exactly. I called an old friend who connected me to local law enforcement. But you knew exactly what to say. The statute numbers, the recording laws. I took a breath. Emma, there's something I should have told you a long time ago. What? I wasn't an insurance adjuster. She stared at me. What? The traveling, the long hours, the missed recitals and birthdays. I told you it was insurance claims. It wasn't. Then what? FBI. 32 years. I worked organized crime mostly, some counterterrorism after Chin Weimot. I retired 5 years ago as ADIC of LA. The silence stretched between us, filled with the sound of Patricia being read her rights in the other room. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to see me differently. I wanted to be Dad, not some federal agent with a gun and a badge. When your mother and I divorced, I worried that my job was part of why. I didn't want it to define how you saw me. All this time, Emma said slowly, all the times they mocked you, called you a failure, said you had nothing. I let them. Why? Because people reveal themselves when they think you're harmless. I wanted to see exactly who Derek and Patricia really were. I hoped I was wrong about them. You weren't wrong. No, I wasn't. Detective Chen appeared in the doorway. Mr. Curtis. Mrs. Holloway is being transported to the station for processing. We have enough for an arrest on assault charges. Given your footage and testimony, this should be straightforward. What about Derek? Emma's voice was small. Your husband hasn't committed a crime tonight, legally speaking, but we've documented the environment. This will be relevant in any custody proceedings. Emma's grip on Lily tightened. Custody? Ma'am, I've been doing this for 15 years. I know what I'm looking at. Chen's voice softened. There are resources, shelters, legal aid, support groups. You don't have to stay in this situation. After the police left, after Patricia was taken away in handcuffs, after Richard stood shell-shocked in his massive living room trying to understand what had happened, I drove Emma and Lily back to Gilbert. My guest room was small but clean. I found sheets, made the bed, dug out an old stuffed bear for Lily to hold. You can stay as long as you need, I told Emma. We'll figure out next steps tomorrow. She sat on the bed, Lily already falling asleep beside her. Dad, why didn't Derek stop her? Any of it? Because he learned from her. She's been teaching him his whole life that control is love, that cruelty is correction. I thought, if I just tried harder, if I was better. That's what they wanted you to think. That's how it works. Emma was quiet for a long moment. The FBI. Were you good at it? I was thorough, methodical. I never went after someone who didn't deserve it, and I never stopped until the job was done. Is that what's going to happen to them? To Patricia? Patricia committed assault. She'll face those consequences. As for Derek and the family business, I paused. I made some calls tonight, to people I used to work with. There are certain irregularities in Holloway Medical Equipment's contracts with federal healthcare programs. Nothing I created, nothing I fabricated. Just things that deserve closer examination. Dad, justice isn't revenge, Emma. It's consequences. They built their lives on cruelty and fraud. I'm just making sure the right people know about it. The next 3 months moved like water finding its level. Patricia's assault charge went to trial in January. My testimony was brief but damaging. The video evidence, irrefutable. She pleaded no contest, received 6 months probation, mandatory anger management, and a restraining order keeping her away from Emma and Lily. The FBI's Healthcare Fraud Division, prompted by an anonymous tip, opened an investigation into Holloway Medical Equipment. They found overbilling, kickbacks, falsified patient records. Richard faced federal charges. His attorneys negotiated a plea deal. 2 years in minimum security, full restitution, loss of medical license. Derek, suddenly without his parents' money or protection, made predictable choices. He contested the divorce, demanded custody, threatened legal warfare. Then he learned who I really was. Your ex-father-in-law, his attorney told him. According to documents filed later, spent 32 years putting people in federal prison. He has contacts in every law enforcement agency in the country. He's documented everything, every bruise, every threat, every financial transaction your family has made in the past decade. If you fight this, you will lose everything. The divorce was finalized in April. Emma got the house, full custody, child support. Derek got supervised visitation every other weekend and a profound education in consequences. In May, I received a letter. The return address was a women's minimum security facility in Phoenix. Mr. Curtis, I know you have no reason to read this, but I want you to know that I understand now what I did, not just to Emma, to everyone I ever looked down on, controlled, dismissed. I was so certain of my own superiority that I couldn't see my own cruelty. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I finally see myself clearly, and I'm ashamed. Patricia Holloway. I showed the letter to Emma that evening. We were sitting on my patio, watching Lily chase lizards in the yard, a normal evening in a normal life. Do you believe her? Emma asked. I believe she's scared and broken and finally seeing what she did. Whether that becomes genuine change, time will tell. Should I write back? That's your choice, not mine. Emma was quiet, watching her daughter laugh in the Arizona sunshine. I spent 4 years thinking I was the problem, that if I just tried harder, was prettier, smarter, more agreeable, they made me believe I was worthless. You were never worthless. I know that now. She turned to me. Dad, all those years, you could have told them who you were, shut them up with one sentence. Why didn't you? I thought about the question, about the life I'd lived, the cases I'd worked, the criminals I'd put away. Because dignity doesn't require proof. I knew who I was. Their opinions didn't change that, and honestly, I wanted to see who they really were when they thought they were safe. Predators show their true nature around the weak, but you're not weak. They didn't know that, and by the time they found out, it was too late. Lily ran over, breathless, holding a rock she'd found. Grandpa, look, it's sparkly. It sure is. You know what that is? That's quartz. The desert's full of it. Can I keep it? Absolutely. She ran off again, treasure in hand, and Emma smiled, the first real smile I'd seen from her in years. Thank you, Dad, for everything. I'm your father. It's what I do. The summer settled into routine. Emma started working again, not at the craft store, but at a design firm downtown that valued her eye for detail. Lily started preschool, made friends, stopped flinching when voices rose. I returned to my quiet life, my morning walks, my cactus garden, my occasional coffee with neighbors who now knew a little more about the quiet widower on their street. Detective Chen stopped by one afternoon, Off duty, just to chat. You know, she said, the Holloway case is legendary now at the station. The one where the grandfather turned out to be former FBI brass. I'm just a retired insurance adjuster. She laughed. Sure you are. In September, Derek requested a meeting through his attorney. Emma agreed, and I went with her, sitting in a conference room in downtown Phoenix while her ex-husband tried to explain himself. I was raised to believe that strength meant control, Derek said. He looked different now, smaller somehow, though he hadn't lost weight. My mother, she taught me that love was obedience, that I was entitled to compliance. I didn't see it as abuse, because it was all I knew. Is that an excuse? Emma asked. No. It's an explanation. I'm in therapy now, twice a week. I'm learning. I can't undo what I did, but I can try to be different. For Lily? For Lily. And for myself. And because... He paused, struggling. Because I finally understand that being feared isn't the same as being respected. Your father taught me that. He looked at me then. This man who'd called me weak and worthless, who'd stood by while his mother struck my daughter. I underestimated you, Mr. Curtis. I thought you were nobody. I know. How did you, all those years, how did you stay quiet while we insulted you? Because I was gathering information, understanding the situation, building a case. I leaned forward slightly. That's what I did for 32 years. I watched criminals dig their own graves, then handed them the shovel. Derek nodded slowly. And I handed you the shovel. You did. The meeting ended without resolution, but with something like understanding. Derek would continue his supervised visits. Emma would continue building her new life. And time would tell whether his remorse was genuine or just another performance. Driving home, Emma asked me the question I'd been expecting for months. Do you regret it? Any of it? I thought about Patricia in prison, Richard facing federal charges, Derek in therapy learning to be human. I thought about the dominoes I'd pushed, the consequences I'd set in motion. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that you suffered for 4 years before I understood what was happening. I regret that I wasn't there sooner. But your actions? No regrets. I protected my daughter and my granddaughter. I exposed fraud and abuse. I let the system work the way it's supposed to. Everything that happened to them was a consequence of their own choices. I just made sure those consequences arrived. That evening, I sat on my patio as the sun set over the mountains. Lily was inside, watching cartoons. Emma was making dinner, humming something I didn't recognize. My phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Heard about the Holloway plea deal. Nice work, old friend. I typed back. Just being a grandfather. Sure. The grandfather, with a chin muy basent conviction rate. I smiled. Set down the phone, and watched the sky turn orange, then purple, then dark. Somewhere in Phoenix, Patricia Holloway was sitting in a prison cell, contemplating her choices. Richard was negotiating with federal prosecutors. Derek was learning, maybe for the first time, what it meant to be accountable for his actions. And here, in this modest house in Gilbert, Arizona, my family was safe. My daughter was healing. My granddaughter was thriving. That's the difference between justice and revenge. Revenge is about making someone suffer for your satisfaction. Justice is about ensuring consequences match actions. I didn't destroy the Holloways. They destroyed themselves. I just made sure the right people were watching when they did. Lily appeared at the patio door. The stuffed bear I'd given her clutched in one arm. Grandpa? Mommy says dinner's ready. Tell her I'll be right there. She disappeared inside, and I took one last look at the darkening sky. They thought I was nobody. A quiet old man in a modest house, living on a pension, worth less than the dirt on their designer shoes. They never saw me coming, and by the time they did, it was far too late. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To listen to the next story, click the video on your screen now. Thank you for watching.